My good friend Justin has been begging me to do a video on blocks. I have been hand shaping my own blocks. He's really interested in it. So we're going to go through different things to look for in blocks, how to fix your own blocks, how to get them straight. This right here is a packaging thing out of like a hood. See this little groove? Your hoods or your doors go in it when you get new parts. Save the foam, you can shape your own blocks. That's what that is. All of these really are. This one actually has handles in it. You know, this one's actually pretty stiff, which I really like. It's really good to have a stiff block when you're doing flat areas. We'll get into that. I've even got this little tiny block that I've shaped, and I've got Velcro side on it and I've got a sticky side on it. The reason why we're doing this video is to help you perform straightening out your body filler. This block is really cool. It's really sweet. It has handles on it. It's stiff. It's durable. It has a little bit of flex to it. But you look down the side of this and it goes like this. So there's high spot here, high spot here. When you're blocking, you're only sanding on these spots, and these spots are not being sanded on, so you're grooving your panel. So we're going to straighten out this block. I'll just show you some other blocks I have. I have this one. I've put a curve in it. This little tiny block. I spent no money on these blocks. I've even got these little tiny blocks. They're little small areas. I've even got soft blocks that I've been cutting down and shaping. This is a block. It's probably pretty easy to see. If you look down the center of that, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this thing is horseshoe. Well, I actually straightened out this block really good, really well, and then I put Velcro on it, and with time it horseshoed. So trying to sand something, straighten something with this, it's not going to work. So I want to show you these blocks that I'm going to show you are super nice. They're user friendly. You don't have to worry about your blocks getting out of shape. You don't have to do much maintenance on them, but you don't want to drop them either. These are big kid blocks. They stay flat and straight, and they're super hard. So when you're pressing on your filler, you can actually press a little bit and it stays on top of your ridges on your mountains, and it keeps cutting the top of the mountains down to your little valley floor. It's kind of how they describe it. So they've got a bunch of different ones. I think they've even got more than that, but the only thing about these blocks is to see these little sharp corners. These are really good for flat areas, but once you start getting into curves and corners, you can gouge your panel very easily with these corners. And so that's what these ones are really nice, because you can sand up these edges and make them where they're not digging into your corners. But I've got this big kid block right here, and this is showing us a really straight, flat surface. When you are doing maintenance on your blocks, you want to lay down a piece of sandpaper on a really flat surface, whether it's on your table or on your toolbox. I have it on my toolbox. Find a really straight part and you're going to run your block across your sandpaper. I just went across this a little bit. In fact, I'll go a little bit more. When you're straightening, you want your, just like you run a regular block, if you're gonna, you never want to run your block this way straight on your panels, because it'll cut on the edge. You're cutting, sandpaper's gonna dig and cut. So you're always wanting to go corner to corner if you're going straight. So that prevents that if you're going straight. When they teach you how to block, you do X's. So, anyways, you're straightening out your, this is how you're doing it. So, now, just like I showed you, I don't know if you can see that, look at these high spots. When you put your sandpaper on, this is the only surface that you're sanding on your filler. This is it. See these shiny areas? You're not going to get anything straight with this block. When you're going across there, can you see that, Justin?
Yeah, it's a brand new block. We never used it.
Brand new blocks, never used it. Come like this out of the package. You're going to have very lumpy bodywork. You can even fill with your hand. So, 80 grit is to get the block really roughed out. You could change it to 180 as you're doing maintenance, or 120, and keep up on your blocks. So let me just spend a little bit of time here. We were wondering if we could actually straighten out this block and still use it or throw it away. It might be junk. But this plastic right here, the red, it's wavy. As you can see. But there's a layer, there's a pad on top of it that we're going to try to straighten out and make flat to see if we can save this block or just throw it away. So anyways, and obviously if you have it on your table, that's just illustrating your flat surface. See here? Maybe the reflection's gonna help. Shiny, low spots. These ones that I'm sanding right here, it's gonna take a while with 80 grit blocking this down. After we get this straight, if there's still shiny spots here and you're onto the red, you might as well throw the block away. I wish this block was straight because that's a super nice block to use. We're gonna put this to the side. That is a good demonstration of why you should check your blocks. And your blocks gets out of shape. Especially these ones have a little bit of flex to them. And when you're blocking, you don't want to press on your filler work, because if you do, you're misshaping the block as you press and it's not being straight. So when you're blocking, you cannot press. You gotta just glide across the surface and let the sandpaper actually do the work. Forcing it does not help unless you have a really solid block like this. And that's why these are so user-friendly, because people that don't have that finesse, that are learning how to do body work, they can actually press hard. They're getting they're sanding mud or primer all day long and they're pressing on it, leaning on the car. Well, this prevents it from losing its shape. You can still stay on your high spots with these blocks. So as you're going, you're wanting to straighten out these blocks. As you're blocking, you keep your block straight, you keep your work straight. even your little ones. You know, so all my blocks, they get this treatment as I'm doing my body work. I only use them probably maybe a dozen pieces of paper, and then they go right back to the straightening. Then they get straightened back out because they lose their shape fast. When you start fighting a spot, you can't get it straight, well then you go to your block to check it, to see why it's not getting straight. So anyways, that's the blocking video. About all these handmade blocks. You know, I know these blocks. How much did you spend on this kit?
160 maybe.
160? Not a bad price at all. Especially for some nice blocks. I definitely want to get these blocks and use them, because they are super sweet. So now that we've gone through handmade blocks, how to keep them straight, checking them. Oh, and by the way, if you can't look down to see if something's straight, you get a piece of sandpaper on it and you go towards where you're sanding and do a couple brushes across it, and I'll show you. And if you don't, you got to have your sand scratches going evenly. Mr. Bond is also wanting to know about blocks and curves. What type of block to use in certain areas and spots. So obviously, if you have a really hard solid block and you're wanting to go straight across here, you're gonna put flat spots on. Even on these round surfaces, this hard block, even if you're going this way, well, this tank has a curve this way and it also has a curve this way. So even if you're going this way with it, you're still putting a really small footprint on this curve. So these blocks on a tank are only good in certain areas. These things are for some big flat panels. Even if you have round fenders that are straight, these things can go and curve around fenders, big long ones. They're awesome for that. So I've got blocks that I use on curves that are flexible. I'll just describe it. So when you're, this one is perfect for this tank because I can get this shape straight, and also it curves where it curves this way too as I'm blocking. And it doesn't take, you can see right there, it doesn't take much pressure to keep its form. And that's why I really like this block for these. So another thing about setting your paper on a curve, so this little trick right here, if you need to make a curve out of this, you hold your fingers this way and you pinch it down and you put your paper across there, and look at that curve that you just put in that block. You do it the same way over here. See that curve? So that paper is now, that block is now stuck kind of in that curve. As you're pressing down, it kind of sticks to that curve for that tank. So I'm actually using my sandpaper, sticking it down and making a curve out of this block. And remember, we're not pressing hard on this. We're letting the sandpaper do the work, so we got to get our blocks fitting around our curves.
What if you curve it after you put the paper on? What happens?
What, this?
Okay.
Curve it? Oh, okay. Justin brought up a good point. Okay. I put this piece of paper on a flexible block, okay? And it's tied down straight. Well, if you go to sand a curved part and put a curve on it as you're sanding, this middle could wrinkle up. That sandpaper you have is pretty flexible. It's not showing that. But if you don't want your paper wrinkling up right here, because you'll just be scratching and gouging that. So the biggest factor of your blocks is check them, see if they're straight, sand them down, make them straight so you can create straight bodywork. What else about blocks, Justin? Is that you got a good understanding of blocks? That kind of help you out? Paper. So I use sticky back paper. The reason why I use sticky back paper is because I can straighten my block all the time. I can Velcro to me is a waste. I've got this Velcro pad right here that I've straightened. I've put my Velcro on. Well, now it's bent. Now I have to take the Velcro off, go straighten my block back out, put a new Velcro pad on it. So the only spot where I use Velcro on blocking anything is if I have it on something really solid that's not going to miss its shape. Like say this thing was actually straight and kept its shape, I would put Velcro on this, and I would use it only if I was using like 40 grit, you know, just to kind of chew the mud, the plastic filler down a little bit. People do that in the green state of the mud. I don't do that. I got away from putting a lot of mud on, taking a really heavy grit, sanding it down. We actually have that back here, really rough grit, and someone had gone across here and put all those really heavy deep scratches on it, and we got bare metal showing. So it was just a total waste. We're gonna buzz that down, get epoxy on it, and start, after we get all those scratches out of it. We have a video on heavy scratches on metal and body filler we do not like. So that's why I use sticky back, so I can shape my blocks. And even if you're using a DA for a flat surface and you want to do sticky back, you can actually straighten out your DA pads too. You run them across there, straighten them out, because as you're sanding, these little edges and stuff, they're actually screwing up your nicely blocked surface. The only time we use DAs here is with a soft pad after we get done blocking, just to get the scratches out. Like say, I'll put 220 on this to get our 120 scratches out of our filler. I finished, Justin just gave me this soft pad right here. This is what we prep with. Our DAs are not blocks. We have soft pads on them so we do not ruin our block surface. We use our DAs as far as prepping out primers and stuff. We use them to take out scratches. and get it ready for primer or to get it ready for paint. Soft pad. This is a Velcro stick, and the only time I use Velcro stick on here is if I have to put an 80 grit on here to rough some metal up or something. I do use Velcro for that, and that's about it. So I get my sticky back pad on here that's not going to be ruining my block work, and I'll put my 220 on to finish my filler work for my epoxy or primer, whatever you're doing. And I'll use this for my 400 grit on my primer. I'll put 400 grit on primer on this to get rid of my 220 scratches. We do our steps in just a couple simple steps. That's what we've dialed it down to be. We're gonna go through that. Actually, we're gonna show you right now the steps. This is one I found online. If you guys want this really nice, soft interface pad with sticky paper, you save money. This is what I got. They were hard to find, but this is it. I actually found them on this website. We're gonna keep ordering those. Those are super nice. So